Hello, leaders. This is Coach Tia, your communications coach, here to give you communication tips and strategies to help you both personally and professionally. If you follow my content, you know that the tips I love to give are very much focused on inner dialogue. I love to give you the talks to help you win in life because I believe that if you know how to talk to yourself, then how you talk to others takes care of itself. And a person who knows how to encourage themselves through the hard times, when it's gritty, when it's difficult, then you'll bring the best out of your team when it's time for you to encourage them as well. So I want to encourage those of you tonight who are feeling burned out, those of you who are feeling discouraged, you know what to do, but maybe you're lacking inspiration. And I want to give you some things that you should consider in your inner dialogue that would help challenge you and hopefully to encourage you to put some things into perspective so you can just revive that strength and renew the energy that you have for you to go out and do the great things that you do every single day. So thank you so much for watching my broadcast. You can follow my content and more of my videos on my website. It is coachtia.org. And for those of you who are really interested and you've been a part of some of my leadership retreats, I do have a new Camp Voice coming up. That's going to be September 18th and 19th. And that one is for women who are looking to reinvent themselves. So again, there'll be much more encouraging and fun things to talk about there. It'll be a healing trip when this renewal. I only have 8 spots left. I'm sorry, but that trip is so limited because I like working with a very small, intimate group. So just go to my website, coachtia.org/Camp Voice, if you are interested in learning more about what we do there and how I am going to help you bring yourself out of the ashes of burnout, frustration, trauma, and get back on track with your goals. So anyhow, let's just do this tonight and let's have this really important talk because I am hearing this a lot and so much of my content comes out of consultations that I have, conversations that I have with other leaders, things that they go through on a day-to-day basis because they're still human, right? Everyone has those times in their life where they are lacking the energy that they need to build and to create and to cultivate the things that are in their heart to do. So I want to help you get on track and let's just talk about a few things. But number one, if you're feeling drained, there's something that you have to know. And again, my conversations are faith-based, okay? So I always say that that's my disclaimer, that this is a kingdom conversation. Those of you who are members of this kingdom, you know who you are. If you are not, that is okay. You're still more than welcome to watch. Inbox me if you're interested or curious about my faith. I just love sharing it, but that's where my content comes from, and I'm not shy about that. So I want to say this to those of you who are feeling that drain and you kind of are in that place where you're going through the motions. One thing I want you to check is I really want you to check your idols, right? Usually, if you are feeling drained, it's because there is a lack of priority, where there may be some things that you are prioritizing that you shouldn't be. So it's about putting things back into perspective, right? And that could be anything. Sometimes we're idolizing food, and food is draining us, and we're not eating the things that continue to produce energy. That could be it. And as a chocoholic that I have been in my life, there's a lot of times I have to put some of the right foods into perspective and not spend the night eating chocolate cake after a long day of work because I'll be drained. So those are some of the things you have to think about. Sometimes we can be idolizing our relationships, right? And the people around us, and we're people pleasing, and we're trying to make everyone happy, which is impossible. And if you have not learned that yet, I want you to please set yourself free. Please learn from my mistake and the mistakes of a million others before me and with me that you cannot make people happy. And no matter how many times you try to change yourself and no matter how much money you spend in time trying to please everyone, you're just going to burn out. It's just going to happen. That's not the way life works. How do you know that your priorities are not in perspective? Because you are drained. Let me tell you something about God. God is an investor, and everything that he creates produces life, right? So if you are in a zone where you can go to work every day, and this is something about workaholics and leaders, people are always telling us all the time, you work too much. But when we are passionate about what we do and we're doing the thing we're supposed to be doing, we're actually excited to go to work. We're actually saying, oh my God, I can't wait till Monday. We're not really looking forward to Friday. It's hard for us to take a break. It's hard for us to go on vacation because we love what we do, because the things that we do give us energy and it gives us life. So when someone's passionate about their work, telling them to take a break and telling them to stop, you may actually be making them more anxious and more stressed out than to just let them do the thing that is in their body to do. But that is how you know for a fact that you're doing your best calling. You're living your life the way that you're supposed to live it, because the work that you do, what you put your hands to, prospers. It gives you energy, it gives you more motivation, it gives you more creativity, it gives you more strength, all the way down to the people you talk to. Have you ever sat down and talked to someone and a conversation with them just gives you so much life? You feel so renewed. So sometimes you might be idolizing solving other people's problems instead of surrounding yourself with connections that are pouring into you instead of connections that are draining you. Let's think about the kind of connections that drain you. Like complainers, right? People who are always negative, they're always down, they're always complaining, they're always stressed out, they always have problems, and that's the only thing they can talk about. Those are the kind of conversations that drain you, they take away, instead of the conversations that put in. So I want you to really consider that some of your connections, you may be prioritizing spending too much time speaking to people who are liabilities instead of those who are assets. And there's a time to be around people who you can help, but there's also a time where it's your time to be renewed, it's your time to be strengthened, it's your time to be sharpened. And if you have let yourself hit the place of burnout and rock bottom, you are prioritizing other people's needs above your own, and you have to put that into perspective. That is so important, okay? So I want you to think about some other things that may be costing you in terms of your priorities. You may be prioritizing entertainment, and entertainment is one of those things that is so nice if you would like to gather some inspiration, but it can also be sucking the life out of you because it can be draining you. Sometimes, there are some things that we want to do after a long day of work. We may want to sit down and binge a Netflix show. Some people may play video games. That can be fine if, like I said, you've spent the day being able to create and cultivate. But if you've hit a place of burnout and now you just want to sit down and watch TV, I really would rather you spend that time. My best advice to you is to spend that time just reading a good book, or watching something that can reignite and re-inspire you. And it doesn't always have to be something so educational. I remember, I love fashion design, right? And I love watching anything where someone is great at what they do. It could be a basketball game. I remember being a kid thinking that I wanted to be as great a fashion designer as Michael Jordan is at playing basketball. So find things that inspire you, that will reinvigorate your love and your energy, because sometimes there are just times where you need to surround yourself and prioritize your mind, body, soul, spirit, instead of pouring out. And that's what happens is we ignore ourselves so much that we start going through the motions and we're no longer being reinvigorated by our lives. So just think through some of those idols, those things that you have put first, because I'm telling you, anything that God gives you to do, if you are in the zone and you are living your calling, it is going to add to you. It is not going to deduct from you. It sounds like a task and it sounds like a chore, but I believe in my heart of hearts that you have everything that you need to do exactly as you're supposed to do. And if you find that you're coming up short, it's because you got too many things on your plate that you're not supposed to do, that you're not ready to let go of. So think about some of that. Number 2, I want you to consider that sometimes you could be consuming more than you're putting out. Let's think of this in terms of food again, right? What happens when you overeat? You get tired, you get lethargic. Some of us are consuming so much information. We done read so many books, we've watched so many documentaries, we've listened to so many podcasts, but we are not producing at the level that we are consuming, and we've just become lethargic and we've become anxious. And now we have too much information that we brought into us, but we're not taking out at the same time and creating with the information that we have taken in. And I love it. There is a season to educate yourself. And what's supposed to happen is when you educate yourself, what comes into you is supposed to come right back out of you into now you're producing and you're building based on what you've learned. But how many of us know a lot of know-it-alls who read the book on everything and ain't did nothing with it? They're always giving you finance advice because they've had Dave Ramsey's program, but they still don't know how to really make money on their own. They can tell you how to start a business, but they've never actually run a business. Sometimes that, if you're this person who is so hungry for knowledge, but you're not hungry for production, right? To put your hands to something and cultivate it, that is going to slow you down. It's actually going to burn you out, and it's going to cause an overload. So I want you to be very intentional about what you're learning. Start putting it to practice almost immediately if you can. It's so important that you're doing it in real time. We have some traditional learners, and we also have some non-traditional learners who may learn some things on YouTube, which is fantastic that we have so many channels and systems for which we can consume information and learn how to become a person that we were not just minutes before. I mean, that is a beautiful gift that we've been given, but sometimes it's overwhelming people. And what I've found is that it's creating a lot of anxiety. We're sitting down, watching the news all day, and oh my God, what is Trump doing? And oh my God, what are the Democrats doing? And what are the Republicans? Oh my gosh. You guys, you're taking in so much information. I'm going to challenge you to turn some of it off and go and do something with the information that you've gained, right? Because information is not made to just sit in your head, and you're not made to just know everything, but you're not doing anything with that information. So I want you to consume that. You could be a learning junkie, and now it's time for you to be an inventor. It's time for you to be a creator. It's time for you to be a problem solver. It's time for you to be innovative with some of that information that you've taken in. So please consider that. Maybe it's time for you to write that book. Maybe it's time for you to start that podcast. Create something with that information, because if you don't, you're going to burn out just like you would if you sat down and you ate food all day long and you didn't burn any energy. What happens? You crash. So consider that. Am I producing at the rate that I am consuming? Big thing. What are my idols? What am I putting first above my ability to produce in life? What is draining me? Okay? Number 3, and I learned this, I cannot wait to say this, and I'm so glad that Eli is on this podcast because he said this and it changed my life. But you may have a lack of authenticity in your life. You may be disconnected from your true self. One of the ways that you need to really consider that lack of authenticity, when you're going around and you got to put on a face and you got to use a certain language and you got to be this person and present yourself to the world, but that is not your true authentic self. That eventually crashes. I think that we all have met those people in our lives, and I'm not going to put an age on it at all, because I don't want to insult anyone with what I think age is or being older is, but I think that we've all met those elderly people in our lives that they hit a certain point where they don't care what they say and they don't care how they say it anymore. They are just authentic 100%. They've been diplomatic. They try to do this, they try to do that, they try to dance around it, and now they're just blunt. And we've all met those people in our lives. And we all can get burned out after a period of time of not being yourself. And of course, it's important to be kind. And of course, it's important to have people skills. And of course, it's important to learn diplomacy. And of course, it's important to have some form of strategy. But if you have to be that person all the time, I think you might want to consider that you don't have as close of friends as you think you do. Okay? So it's so important that you are building connections based on your authentic self and not just the person that you're presenting to the world. You know what that does? Sometimes what happens is, we're trying to keep people out, right? Because we're afraid. It can happen that sometimes we're afraid that if I show someone my true self, they won't like me. And then you build this world on sand that starts to wash away because you can't be anyone else other than yourself. You get tired of it. And when that world starts to collapse, because it will, and I promise you, it will. The world where you have to pretend, it's going to collapse, it's going to fold. Even you will not have the energy to put that world back together when it's time. So you may as well start building connections around your authentic self, who you truly are, what's really in your heart, right? Not being sloppy and not just saying anything in a sloppy way. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being able to speak the truth as you know it to be, of what is in your heart, and build connections who can handle you saying the things that you need to say. And it's important that you do that. And that when you get to that place, you really truly learn that quality is more important than quantity. It's so much better if you have two solid people in your life, even one who can handle you being you, and they're not going to be offended every 5 minutes. Which means to me, and I'm going to give you a really practical advice, please get rid of the people in your life who are easily offended, because they don't like you anyway. Let me tell you something, that the people who love you, the people who really like you, they are not easily offended at all. They actually know what you mean, right? They are those people that, you know, they know where you're coming from. They know your heart. They know what you mean. So please do not waste too much time with people who you have to walk on eggshells with. You got to tiptoe around, you got to do the dance with them, and you got to compliment them just to be able to. Don't. Okay, it's a waste of time. It's going to fall apart sooner or later. I can promise you that. Those are the people in your life that are going to throw a tantrum every single time you don't do things their way. They're deeply insecure, and I promise you that everyone who is insecure, I promise you this, not people who have insecurities, because we all have them, but people who are insecure, they are draining you, they are taking from you, and they are dangerous. They're nice. A lot of times they are nice people until they're not. And as soon as you touch on something that's painful to them, as soon as you get a little bit close to it, they think you're close to it, they will stab you in the back. Promise you. They do it every single time. Because you will never be more important than their pain. Never. So you might be surrounded by people who are like that. Sometimes there are people who have huge egos. That's how they can look. They have a huge, gigantic ego, and you have to constantly flatter people and fluff them up just to make them feel comfortable with your presence. Don't bother. Let them go. Let them go. I promise you, they're draining you. They're draining from your time. They're draining from your resources. They're draining from your energy. So consider that sometimes the lack of authenticity might be the reason why you're drained. And if that is your lifestyle, where you have to constantly use strategy just to communicate, just to get through the day, just to get someone to tolerate you, then that's just not a room that you truly belong in. It's just not. And you have to be so much more comfortable with the rooms that you don't belong in than the rooms that you truly do belong in. Now, you hit that place in your life where there's some people, and this is always funny to me. There's so many people that if you don't invite them to something they don't want to go to anyway, they're offended. You already know they're going to say no. And you already know what kind of events they want to go to. So, and they'll get offended by it, right? Because they are not comfortable with not being in the room. Now, I am that person. My friends know me, and they know that there are certain things you shouldn't invite me to because I don't want to be there. And I actually appreciate that they don't invite me. You know why? Because I'm very comfortable with where I don't belong, and I'm very comfortable with where I do belong. I do not need to feel accepted by everyone. I am me, and I like being me. And I want you to be at that place where you like being you. You like where you're not just as much as you like where you are. So set yourself free, and do no longer, entertain the need to be a people pleaser, because it's draining you. I promise you, it's draining your money, it's draining your resources, it's draining your talent, it's draining your time. There is a parable, I think it's Matthew chapter 25, where it's a parable of the talents. Is a very popular parable. And in this parable, there's a master gives three of his servants, right? Different amounts of talents. One, he gives them 5, they double it. Another one, he gives them 2, they double it. And the third, I believe he gives them 1, and they buried it. So it's basically like saving it. What does saving your talent look like? That looks like only using it for just your family, right? Maybe it looks like maybe instead of you developing your skills, you're good at something, but you don't do anything with it. These are things that are draining you. I am telling you, if you are a talented person and you go out there and you really push yourself out of your comfort zone, and we all have these little hang-ups and quirks, we all have them 100%. But if you push yourself to get past those quirks and allow your talents to produce, it's going to add to you more, because your skills are your wealth. Your talent is your wealth. So if you're drained because you're not earning enough, you're drained because you've got more bills than expenses, than income, you're drained because, you're worried about everything that's coming up and you don't know how you're going to make ends meet, I want you to consider, and I've done a live on this before, that you are the wealth. Don't bury your talent. Go out there and produce. Everything God touches multiplies. Everything. There's nothing on this earth that God, that's how you know what's natural. What is natural always creates and produces life. It just does. If we all fall off the face of this planet, trees produce life, grass produce life, water continues, everything will continue to produce. That is the cycle of life, and that is God's imprint. And so are you. You are a producer. So no longer allow the things that are distracting you from producing to distract you anymore. Like I said, whether it is being liked, whether it is being entertained and having to, you're just prioritizing entertainment, whether it is, not having enough time or friends or connections to inspire you, whether it's your idols. I want you to really, really liberate yourself and see the value of the talent that's in your body, the things that only you can do the way that you can do it. Push all of those thoughts out of your way, the imposter syndrome, out of the way that you can't. You can, that's why you have it, because you can. But we can get drained, and it happens from time to time. Boy, if you're a parent, you can get drained. If you have a family, you can get drained. But sometimes the problem is that we have not been authentic enough to express our needs in a way that is effective to the people who love us, the people who are supposed to love us, so that they know how to also pour back into the bucket that they're taken out of. So I want you to know it's also okay for you to advocate for yourself and tell people what you need so that you can continue to produce for them, okay? Sometimes it's okay to say, hey guys, I'm here, I'm a person. I need a break. I need some time to myself. Sometimes we keep trying to show up for people and show up, and we're going through the motions and we're afraid of letting them down. When really we need to be teaching people that we're not robots, and we have to stop teaching our children or our families, our spouses, that it's okay for you to objectify me. Those are things that we can do because we want to be the hero, so much that we've made ourselves an object because you're a leader, right? But be a person and let people know that you are a person, because what'll happen when you get burned out, it's going to come out anyway. And then you're going to start to feel like no one cares about you. They don't care. When really you train them to think that you are superhuman. And now that identity that lacks authenticity is no longer working for you. So think about the way we've trained people. And I want you to learn how to have those boundaries that you need so that you can continue to produce at the capacity that creates and builds life for you. But I hope that this talk was helpful. Have those conversations with yourself. Am I teaching people to objectify me? That's a question. That's a big question, right? What am I idolizing? What am I prioritizing that is draining me? That's a question you need to ask yourself, right? Am I consuming more information than I'm producing? That's a big question. These are all conversations with yourself you have to have. Am I multiplying my talents, or am I burying them? Big question. These are all things that cause that drain, right? This is slow burn until you burn out. But if you can turn those things around, and problems are complicated, guys, but solutions are very simple, very simple. I want you to just start, make small steps, whether you have to take just one book, the one book that you read, and you decide you're going to put that book into action. Don't pick up another book. Ladies, I'm going to say this to women. Don't go get another degree. We like to go back to school over and over and over again to validate sometimes, our intelligence. You don't have to go back to school. Put some of that education into action. It is your job to put your education to work. Your education is not going to put you to work. It's not the other way around. Put it to work, okay? Don't take out another student loan. This is confirmation for someone, okay? Put what you learn to work. You don't have to keep going in debt. Set up boundaries. Teach your children how to support you, right? That's important. Teach them how to honor your boundaries. Whatever it is that you need to refuel yourself. Those are important things, right? Do not idolize things that are happening, things that are dying above your soul. What's good for your soul, what's good for nurturing your spirit so that you continue to be a good producer. These are all important conversations that you need to have. So anyhow, guys, I really hope that this was helpful. I'm sure that there is some conviction in this message. It definitely always is for me. These are always things that I have to consider when I find myself at a place of burnout, because we are not made for burnout. We are made to continue to refuel and re-energize. Oh, this is a big one. This is actually one of the 10 commandments, guys. Do you have a day of rest? Just one day that you are giving yourself to rest. That is hard to do. Do you know how much faith it takes to rest? I mean, you know, my broadcast is for leaders. And so many of us have the faith to create, but do you have the faith to rest? One day, honor the Sabbath, keep it holy. And it's not a religious practice. It is a wellness practice to have a day out of 7 days that you rest and you spend that time refueling and re-energizing your mind, your body, and spirit. Not find a new set of activities to do, but really that is supposed to be the day that you allow yourself to regenerate. Have you built that in to your practices, right? That day is made for the man. So it's so important that we do these things, right? They're right there. So God bless you all tonight. God loves you. I love you too. I hope that you have a fantastic night. Thank you so much for watching my broadcast. Thank you again for Eli Bowman for the tip on authenticity. I'll never forget it. Please watch his content. He's a rock star. He's got a lot of great learning lessons, and I hope to talk to you all soon. Bye.